Hi, my name is Taylor Mose. I go to Columbus State University, and I am going to be presenting about the Tartous cement factory in Syria, leaving a number of their residents sick and forced out of their homes. This is my ID, and I'm ready to get started. So my introduction and rationale would include that the Tartous cement factory is one of the largest state-owned cement factories in Syria. The factory is approximately a mile away from the Mediterranean Sea, and the factory is surrounded by agricultural land taken up with olive trees and greenhouses. For the Tartous residents living nearby the factory, the emissions have been a huge concern for them because of their daily exposure to cement and dust. They believe this exposure puts their health at a great risk, as the dust can travel over 10 kilometers, and 10 kilometers is right under a mile before precipitating into the land and the sea. So this is a big thing for them because despite there being lawsuits and complaints about the jeopardy of their health, the residents' health, they still have to live through this and carry on their normal lives. So, with a summary of the events, the Tartous cement factory, being one of the largest state-owned cement factories in Syria, you would most likely believe, or one would believe, that the state would do its due diligence for the best of protecting its citizens, for the harmful effects of their own properties, and with this being an ongoing issue over a decade. Residents are enraged and falling from cancer and other respiratory issues due to the emissions from the factory. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, aka the EPA, cement factories are major contributors to the emissions of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and carbon monoxide, which we have learned that can be harmful, which we can learn they all can be harmful to children and other individuals, especially those with underlying health diseases. Those diseases could be a common respiratory issue that would include asthma. The EPA states that it's widely known that prolonged exposure to these substances can further damage and reduce oxygen flow to the body's nervous systems. To the body's organs and tissues, which is needed for complete function of cardiovascular and nervous system. Research from the Ministry of Health in 2005 showed that the towns and villages near the factory have a higher rate of bronchitis and respiratory illness causing them than other surrounding areas. Many residents stated that the conditions are unbearable and that they feel as if they have no choice but to leave their homes. This is a horrible thing because people being forced out of their homes that they work hard to live in, and moving is not something that a lot of people can just up and do. So not only does that aid in needing financial support, but to be able to have had that for a period before these times. And it seems that if people feel like they're forced out of their homes, is that it's a last resort. So the Ministry of Justice stated that dozens of lawsuits are filed against the factory by people who own properties nearby due to the damages caused by the dust. In the most affected village, the head of Agricultural Association even complained that to the local media that it was very serious and real, and the damages versus the payouts for the damage of their livelihood, so their food, their clothes, and their land. And that's not even to mention the food that people have to put in their mouths. So that's really important to them. There were even complaints of the agricultural yield, meaning that they're not making or producing their desired or what they're used to producing agriculturally. The damage caused a decrease in growth and production in olive trees, and we know that the health and livelihood, like the food that we eat and how we fund our lifestyles, is important but this type of damage has reduced the value of properties, and the properties listed are even listed at half of the known worth before, because of the issues that they're having to endure. So this event is important, obviously, because this is the livelihood of thousands of people. Even people that may visit Syria could be affected by this, with exposure to cement in the air, or even people that work in the area. Despite several lawsuits and complaints, the people in this state and their children are still suffering, like, to this day. The last time the academic journal was updated was February 2023. So the takeaway for this is that it's important to note that environmental justice is not worldwide. These things happen to people in certain communities that look a certain way versus another for a reason. And the residents of the Tartous community had demanded change and urged for relocation of the factory for 3 decades. And this is the most the country of Syria has been able to come up with to resolve their issues is installing smoke filters that they were never even implemented. The sad lesson learned is that the environmental justice is ongoing and laws are not put in place to protect citizens everywhere for things like this. So that is all, and I hope the takeaway from this was very clear.